Oh, 1901. No laser sailors there. Still. Well, I don't discount Anna and Andy and obviously a few others. We'll give them all a minute or two and
Okay.
we'll say hello. We're going to start going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to change hats while you're saying hello.
Oh, wow.
I had this on for the first episode, as those who are tuned in will know. I had to change to this one for the second because it was a very, very hot and sunny day. And now we've got a bit of a breeze up. It's a bit chillier. I've now got my warmer, but still sun-shading hat on. So that's the hat. So what generally tends to happen when you're not muted is it goes a bit like Planet of the Apes, like this. Protest. Starboard. Clear ahead. And it gets a little bit strange and crazy. So I hope you don't mind. So that's where we're going to go. We're racing around a course. It may be triangular. We may change it to any kind of course, but we've reached the start line. We've done the basic rules. We've done the starts, which pertain to any starts anywhere. We're going to concentrate on the river and how we start on the river this time. It's not dissimilar to cows. We've got tides, etc. I mean, the main difference really is tides pushing us over. We've got river banks, which can provide obstacles or wind shadows. I say the tide pushing us over. We always start our races 2 hours before high water. So yeah, generally we are down tide coming over the line. And that's one of the major considerations. Having said that, recently we've had a lot of rain 2-3 weeks ago, huge amount of rain. And the river, although the tide was coming in on the flood, the actual movement of the water on the top was going out. So getting down there early and finding out what's happening is part of your big strategy. Having a look at your race course and what's going on out there. It's no good having a brilliant race start if you haven't got a good strategy after the start. Race starts in this case are paramount, obviously. You want to get to the first mark first. That's why we're doing this. Okay, so the differences in the river. Another couple of little things with the river. Obviously, the wind will follow it. And so even if you've got a southwesterly, it will spin around and follow the path of least resistance, which is the water. So as you go over the Corinthian start line, you might have a westerly. Up on the corner, it's gone southwesterly. So all considerations on where you need to be on the start line and what you want to do with your strategy after you start. Right, so another little one with to throw in here with Corinthian start line. Anchoring. Now I'm going to ask a question here. We are allowed to use an anchor in the race because of the strength of the river and the tides. I don't know whether we're allowed to use it before the start. We certainly are allowed to hang on to the pontoons down river of the start. Ben, do you know whether we're allowed to use an anchor? Is it important?
I think before the race starts, you're not racing. There's no course. So I think you could do whatever you want. You could have a beer. But I think if you turn up, wherever you turn up, Michael's done, obviously is probably the authority here, but everyone's got their sailing instructions, and you've got the racing rules of sailing, and then you've got local sailing instructions. And because of the tide, there are rules that mean that you can hold on or anchor or basically use some form of outside assistance up to the 1 minute to prevent you disappearing off underneath the barges.
To the 1 minute. So there's the important.
You can put an anchor down. You can do whatever you want. You can smoke a pipe up until the minute.
Okay, so that's really enterprises and X-boats. Not that the X-boats need bloody anchors in light winds. Probably only the enterprises. Maybe a Vision. They don't carry them, and certainly you'd look a bit stupid with an anchor on the bow of your laser. Anyway, so moving on. I'm going to have a little look at. I must stop that finger coming in here. but we're going to have a little look at some stuff here. So we've got a couple of slides. There's It's a Rat Race. Fantastic. We're going to have a little look at my barging slide here, just to get things going. So we're going over this again in a bit more depth, but just to remind you all, bottom left there, the green boat, okay, is nicely set up for the start line on starboard near the race committee boat. In our case, it'll be a pontoon. The reaching boat red has no room, must keep clear. Okay, but we're going to come on to some variations on that in a minute. We cannot push them really into the committee boat and allow them to go around the outside, because we've got a pontoon and a bridge. And on the right-hand side there, you've got the leeward boat. He's got all the rights, pushing the red boat up, but there's room for B to come in. I think there's one little tip here. Basically, any boat to leeward you can potentially hit should be considered a brick wall. Interesting. So that's a variation on collision regs and rules, which pertains to racing in particular. Okay. So I'll give you my recapping now. I'll give you my three most important considerations. Number one, you need to hit the line at speed and in clear air. Clear air is king. Number two, you've got to get to the favoured side of the course after the start. So normally that'll be whether there's more wind there, less tide there against you, or more tide with you. On any course, Cowes and Solent is very similar to our race course. Of course, on the river, you've got very much the tide. The tide is hugely important in the middle there. You need to use that in a light wind, definitely. Thirdly, only in third place is the favoured end of the start line. Starting on starboard would be really good, unless there's a bias. We've done bias in episode 2, which is up on YouTube, by the way. Have a little look at that. But you need to consider keeping away from that favoured end, because as I mentioned before, there's a clusterfuck. There's pirates down there yelling and shouting at you, screaming away. So you need to be a bit worried about going down there. Go back to number one, clear air is king, hit the line at speed. And remember again, the good start will really only work with your strategy if you've got a good strategy after the start. Okay, so here we go. 3 options that we might want to consider on the river in particular. Starboard at the pontoon end, yeah, middle for tide, and port flyers. Now, we touched on it, but we don't know what a port flyer was last time. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Ben, have you got anything for us on a port flyer?
So here go the boys, 25 seconds to go. There's a port flyer looking at this on the breeze side of things. I could go with that. I think there's some breeze to carry them over. They're certainly on this bottom left-hand side of the course right now. There's some great breeze. Everybody stacked, 3-1-1, you're in good shape. 10 seconds to go. Start sailing out fast. You've got plenty of time, And gun. Whoa, a couple of boats off. Unfortunately, I think they were over, or they were late with the thing, but that seemed like an obvious one for me on the camera. People very late, 1269 coming in late. Number 16. 311. Sort of in a lane there. They just got to be good and hold that in there.
So what will we do? What is the port flyer? And why would we do it? Looking for more wind at the pin end? Or, as I say, the clusterfuck down the starboard end? No, sorry, starboard starting end, which in this case is at the committee boat or the pontoon in our case. So if that's all going on down there, you might want to consider a port flyer as much speed as you possibly can hit that line at, because they're all slowed down, jostling at the pin end, at the pontoon end, or even in the middle. They're all fighting for a leeward hole so they can accelerate, bear away, accelerate, and speed off the line. So you might be looking for a port flyer down there. those three things: starboard, middle for tide, port flyer, or generally, if you're me, I will have probably been helping people rig their boats, and therefore we will have a virtual background up, and we will have me jostling around the river, looking for someone with a watch, having forgotten mine, or possibly following Val or Simon or Ben, and keeping out of the way of Warren, who's probably capsized on the line. So is there anyone else out there who wants to add to that? Unmute yourselves and say anything. I haven't got many laser sailors and river sailors on here. So what we are going to do is we're going to go through 3 scenarios, and as I say, do apologise if you had them last time, but we're going to go into them in more depth. So well, at this point, we were going to have a race starts video. Edited in here, Ben, when we come back. So what I'll try and do is show you a scenario. Let's get out of here and get back into here. Okay, scenarios coming up. So here we will have very soon the race course. Let's have a little look at that. Can you see a race course there?
Yes.
Good. So this is the Thames. This is where we race. Our start line is down here in black. If I can get a pen. So we're here. There's the start line. Pontoon, black line going across. These boys are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is right up here near going up to the Barnes Reach. Now, to illustrate what I'm going to do now is we'll have a wind coming here southwesterly, and we'll have the tide here rushing up the river. So all the scenarios I'm going to show you now are going to use this wind direction. We'll assume that we're going to race all the way up, one massive beat up to number 8. Okay, so I think I need to simply erase all my bits and pieces here. We'll see if they come up on the next slide. Ah, yes, they do. Here we go. So I'll erase them off this. Give me a moment. Here we get rid of all our wins and drawings and 3s and 4s. So now we've got, hoping that that's reasonably clear there, we've got a slide behind the actual bottom right image, the little window, the pontoon is, and that's our start line. So I'm hoping that's not obscuring things too much for you. We're going to start off with a very simple one where we have a boat coming in that's not a good colour, same colour as the river. This is the Thames at the moment, by the way. It's apparently crystal clear. No idea why, but here we go. Here we got a boat coming in here on starboard. Their pontoon. Can you see the pontoon, guys?
Yes.
Okay. There's the pontoon and the boat coming in on starboard. We've got another boat right next to him here. Again on starboard. And there's the 2 positions I want to show you. Position 1 and position 2 for both boats. So the pontoon is very close now. So they're both overlapped on starboard, same tack. Boat A here has the right of way because he's to leeward. They're overlapped on the same tack. At position 1, he could luff him up at that point, and B, boat B, will have to keep clear. So in position 2, what do you reckon the difference is? What can he do in position 2? He's obviously in a good position, that boat A. Anybody want to say what he could do there? No, okay, I'll give it to you. He now can no longer luff. If he luffs him up at position 2, that boat will hit the pontoon. Or we'll have to tack away, and probably with our tide doing this, not be able to jibe in time and get stuck up against the ramp. So he needs to be given space to keep clear and manoeuvre in a seaman-like way. So touching the pontoon, smashing into the ramp is not very seaman-like. Okay, that's happened quite a lot down there at the Thames. On the Thames, people in boat A will be shouting and screaming, "Go up, go up." Well, okay at position 1, because B can spin round, hopefully, given our conditions and tide there. At position 2, no longer allowed to. Okay. Let's give you another one. Anybody want to come in on that?
I just had a question. How far away would you say position 1 is away from the pontoon?
Okay. I think the answer here really is if you luff them up and don't give them a chance to miss that pontoon or be able to spin round and hit the ramp, you are in the wrong. And the rule is 16.1, I do believe. They have to have space to keep clear. You cannot shout up, up, up and push them into an obstruction. If you're out at sea, if you're on the Solent, you have to give them time to tack and go round the committee boat end. Here we've got a pontoon, which is, depends on the wind conditions. If you've got a nice good wind and you can tack and spin round and get into your jibe and to go way downriver, you'd be okay. If not, you are in the wrong in boat A, even though you had rights. You must give them room to tack and to keep clear of any obstruction. Does that answer it?
Would that depend on who the sailor is as well? So if you've got someone less experienced, you need to give them more room than someone who's kind of a very experienced sailor.
Absolutely. You should assume that they're a beginner. You should assume that they are a beginner. You must give them time. Yeah. So
I think also it would come down to if someone else protests you or the race officer sees it or they seek redress or whatever, you've got to be able to defend yourself pretty well, and just being able to say, well, there's plenty of room is quite difficult if there's challenging conditions and there's lots of other boats around. So you generally got to be pretty careful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. If the race officer says no, luckily, one of the consideration here is shouting. Okay, if you shout really early when they really have got time, go up, tack away. There's no room to come in here. Make sure the rest of the fleet hear that. Any safety boats or race officers who obviously will be sitting in his box overlooking it at that point. So yeah.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
It also depends on how that situation has arisen. So if the inside boat, I can't see the diagram for some reason, but if the boat closer to the shore, if he has put himself in that position by sailing into that gap, then he's not entitled to any space whatsoever. So the leeward boat can luff immediately. It's only if the windward boat he needs time to keep clear if it's the leeward boat's actions that have led to that situation. But if can you put some numbers on the boats or some letters? I'll try and explain it a little bit better. Yeah, so basically if boat B sails into that gap, then boat A is entitled to immediately luff, and boat B, as in point closer to the wind, and boat B has to get out of the way. Whereas if boat A has sailed from behind or tacked into that position underneath, boat A has sailed from behind or tacked underneath that boat B, then they have to give boat B the time and opportunity to keep clear. So it subtly depends on how the situation's arisen.
How it's arisen, yeah. You're absolutely right. I'm looking at to illustrate it, the distance away that they are when A shouting to B and luffing up, B can keep clear. But you're right. You're right about how they got into that position in the first place. Good. Let's rub these boys out. Let's look at a situation which happens a lot on the Thames, where typical Corinthian midline. So you might have Val sitting here, Simon sitting over there. They've got a bit of control, not too much tide. So they're just drifting down to the start line. They've given themselves nice big holes to leeward. Obviously the wind is here. So to leeward here and here, these little dots here and here. They've given themselves loads of space there to bear away when they want to and accelerate over that start line. Okay. But here we've got, oh, that's the razor. Here we've got Caroline, because she loves to do this, flying in at speed. Okay, now she's going to want to get into that hole to leeward of, let's say that's Simon, and this is Caroline. Okay. Actually, I'm going to draw this. I'm going to give you another little example here. Let's give her a position 2. So Caroline can get to here, where she's just broken the overlap on Simon. Okay. Then she's going to carry on. She's going at loads of speed. These two boys, Val and let's change that to position 3. Sorry, bear with me. I had an eraser up there for a minute. Okay, so positions 1, 2, 3. And Simon's sitting there, positions 1, position 2. Don't know what he's going to be doing in position 3. So Caroline is flying down here. Okay. So in position 1, obviously she has no rights. Not at all. She's clear astern, so she's the keep clear boat. But she's anticipating going in there and creating an overlap. Okay. Now, as soon as she creates that overlap, what can she do?
Luff up Simon.
Before she creates the overlap, she can't. She's got no rights. What can she do as soon as she creates it? Can she luff him up? Now, anybody say yes? Any no's?
Yes.
Out there?
Yes.
There's a yes there. So, rule 15.1, or
No,
rule
she
15
can't.
comes into play. As soon as you create that overlap, you cannot. It's called immediately. They have to have the rights to get out the way. Okay, rule 15 comes into play. It's only a few seconds after the overlap, but it actually has to give him time to keep clear. Because, of course, if you luff up a position 2, Simon is also going to have to luff up, and that stern of the boat is going to hit her. So it's a bit of a weird one, but immediately, it says immediately, a few seconds. You cannot luff up immediately you create that overlap. So she's going to have to wait, I think. She's going to luff him up, definitely. So if she luffs him up, that means she also changes her course. And another rule comes in, that's 16.1. I told you I'm going to get a bit detailed here. Okay, so if she luffs him up, she breaks another rule. She can only really luff him up at position 3. If she changes her course, she also has to give him time to move. To keep clear in a seaman-like manner. Okay, so you have to leave the luff to position 3, by which time Simon probably will be somewhere down, a bit further on down here. Yeah, he will have moved here. Well, at that point, she's probably going to push him over the line. So he will be there. She can now start luffing him. So you cannot immediately luff when you get that overlap to leeward. Anyone happy with that? Okay, let me ask you a question. What would you do as Simon? Any experts on there? What would you have done as Simon, seeing Caroline coming flying in there?
Well, you're quite limited in your options. The trick is to hopefully see Caroline coming early, and if you can try and bear away and make the gap smaller and less inviting for Caroline, then hopefully she would go somewhere else. But unfortunately, if she sails up from behind, you are still required to keep clear, provided she doesn't change her course.
Absolutely. Once she's created the overlap. So yeah, if Simon bears away to try and close the gap, he's got to be very skilled to be able to bear away and sail down that course, but not go over the line. He's going to have to almost let his sails flat because we've got tide behind us as well. So yeah, very, very, very early, try and protect your hull to leeward if you're in Simon's position. Anything else, anyone? No, not for now.
Is that just on the start line, or is that any part of the course?
It's, the rules do come in any part of the course, but particularly here on the start line, we're just talking about the start line for now. On the course, you're probably going to be going the same speed. The point here is that Simon, very clever, he can control his boat nicely and just sit there waiting for that moment to accelerate, bear away. But Caroline's caught him out a little bit if he hasn't seen her coming, by coming at speed. On the course, you're probably going to be doing the same speed. So this rule, yeah, it'll be very different out there. We'll do that when we actually sail up the course at a later time. All right, I'll give you another one here. What have we got here? We've got Marlene. Marlene coming in here. She's on port. There's a sail on Val. This is Val, obviously. Val and Marlene. Val sits in the bloody middle there, as if he's hogging the place. So Marlene's coming in on port here. No rights whatsoever. Rule, can't remember what it is, 10, I think it is. But what she's going to do is she's going to want to come and tack and make use of that little hole to leeward that Val has created. That was a bit of a heavy old pen, so she's going to come in here. Okay, Val again, like Simon, is just sitting there slowly. They're just trying to time their approach to the line. So position 1, obviously Val is there for 1 and position 2. So on port tack coming in, no rights whatsoever. Now the thing here is that I've lost my piece of paper. Here we go. So I know it anyway, I think. So Martine is going to come in and tack. She's on port. She has no rights whatsoever. Does anyone know when she gets her rights again on Val? She's going through a tack, nicking his hull.
Isn't it as soon as the sail is past the centre of the boat through the tack?
Yeah, so as soon as she is close hauled, again on the starboard tack, she then becomes the windward boat. She has no rights whatsoever. Nobody has any rights when they're going through a tack whatsoever. So that's quite an interesting one. And I've lost my little thing here. Yeah, so she has to go past through the wind and get close hauled again. So ideally what she's going to do, she's going to tack, bear away, and she's close hauled, and then she's got rights to luff him up and probably push him over the line because he's just sitting there. She is now overlapped to leeward, gone through the wind, close hauled. She can now stuff him up and push him over the line. So she had her eye on Val's hull from the very beginning. She's going up the alley there, Val's alley. Fantastic. she's stuffed him up. Now, being that it's Val, she's now close hauled, and she's now gone up, up, up. She's moving up here now. Even if her sail flaps, she can, as long as she has been close hauled, she can start to come up again and push him over the line. Any other thoughts about that? So that's not a port flyer. However, if it's Val there, I would make sure that I'm shouting, I am now close hauled, go up. So everyone hears you, because otherwise he'll stitch you up in the protest room afterwards. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There we go, very useful. I mean, things like this are useful here on the river, obviously. Much more useful if you're sailing a big dinghy where life and limb is in danger.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Okay, 2 boats over. Someone's just about to hit a power boat. Oh my gosh! They're clear.
I, for one, want to die peacefully in my sleep, unlike my grandfather, who died hearing all that splashing, shouting and screaming as the boat went down. So some useful things to remember here. All right. Yeah, so I'm just trying to adjust what we're doing here because of the old videos. Let's get another little scenario. One more. Let's talk about the port flyer. As I'm doing this, does anybody want to come in with any questions or chats about what they're doing there? Anything you don't understand? Was that all pretty clear? Anything from the sailing experts? Michael usually got a couple of things to say here. Oh, you're good.
No, nothing's out at the moment.
All pretty good so far. Do you mean to say I've got the rules right for a change? That's very good. All right, here we go. What time have we got here? 39 already. Right, nice and short and snappy. One last one. So let's say, let's start drawing a boat here. Let's say there's some, I'm really over exaggerating this because I need the space to draw my boats. So this boat here is going to sail across here, and he's going down the line, waiting for a time. Now he's sailing down the line, waiting for a time to pull his sails in and shoot off up. Okay, but what we've got here is we've got Marlene. Have we used Marlene yet?
Yeah, she came in on the port.
We've got someone coming in with a port flyer. So basically what we were talking about for a port flyer is that you're going to try and cross that line at huge speed so that everyone else is messing around in the middle or down at the favoured starboard end next to the pontoon. You've got to be going at such a speed that on the first tack, you've crossed them. Yeah, you get across, because any boat on starboard coming in from here has rights on you. They'll make you duck them behind or tack away into the bank, but we'll come on to that rule later. So we've got a port flying boat coming in, and let's say they've timed it so well coming in here. I can't draw my sails. Yeah, I'll say they're close hauled coming in. Sorry, on port. So your wind, there's not a very good angle there, but you get the idea. They're coming in on port very fast. And let's say that position 1 here, 1, 2, position 2, they are going to cross ahead of that very slow boat coming here. Let's say that's me. And this is Ben. So this green boat here is going to cross ahead, definitely, it's going so fast, of boat B. or me. Yeah? What rights then has boat B got? It's definitely going to cross ahead. What should happen to boat B? What can they not do? Let's put it that way. Just before the start, boat Ben is going to cross in front of me. What I cannot do is luff up. So in actual fact, that port flyer boat there has stuffed up the starboard boat that was going really, really slowly and waiting. You cannot now luff up at any point there until that boat has gone past you, even though you're on starboard and that boat is on port, because you've got to hold your course there. 16.1 says you cannot cause them to head up. Now, certainly, if there's a pin there, let's draw a pin end of the line, actually. This will probably illustrate it better. If that boat was, if I was to luff up in the red boat, it would cause Ben to bear away and hit that pin. Probably not such a good example on the river, guys. I should have brought the pin end in. On the river case, it would probably cause Ben to go up and hit the river bank.
Okay? Not for the first time.
Not for the first time, and as we know on the river, there's not normally wind on that side of the bank if you're on a southwesterly. Yeah? Okay, so there's a few scenarios. Without these videos in here, guys, and I think we're going to need to look towards the video edit on YouTube just to see a few videos illustrating what I'm talking about, and a few video nasties and a few video funnies here. Yeah. So I'll give you. We're gonna end this one quite soon and just have a quick chat. Before we do that, I've had a note in from one of our correspondents. Hopefully, you guys have seen the chat thing up in More, and you can chat your questions. Start typing some of them in if you want, and perhaps Ben and Michael will be looking at them, or we can give you some answers in a moment or two. But for now, Mole, where's this correspondent? The Mole.
I can answer one of them now. So Penelope asked.
Do you want me to draw it for you?
No, it's all right. So Peter asked, what's a port flyer? And Penelope asked, is that a port flyer? Essentially, port flyer is basically when you start on port tack instead of starboard tack. Starboard tack, normally the favoured one because you have the rights. Port, you have no rights. And you manage to time it so much so that you get in front of the entire fleet. And it's called a port flyer because if you time it just right, you fly all the way across in front of the fleet without them having to alter course, without them having to call rights on you. And then you tack off and you're in a solid position for the first windward mark. And it's one of these things that you have to time very right, because if you get it wrong, everyone bearing down on you is on starboard tack. They have the rights. And you have to either tack off or duck behind everyone and lose all of your advantage. If you get it right, you'll be talking about it in the bar for about 2 weeks because you will essentially port tack the entire fleet. So it's called a port flyer because you fly past on port.
Thanks, Ben.
And at the end, we were going to finish here with a rather funny race starts video. So again, I still laugh. I actually burnt my face earlier, spluttering tea. So have a little look at that one.
We don't have any more time here. We have to leave, but back with more sports soon from the 30th Olympiad. Thank you very much.
But here's the message from the correspondent that's just come in. This one is from a Mr. Mole from the Riverbank in Putney, who says, I took my enterprise away from the club on the river down to the sea. It seems to float better in the sea. What is in salt water?